Could anyone in the year 2000 have predicted the geopolitical landscape of the 21st century as we see it today? The answer, quite simply, is no. The drama of geopolitics unfolds like a complex theatre play, with a cast of nations, leaders, conflicts, alliances, and unpredictable plot twists. The stage, our interconnected world. The 21st century has been a whirlwind of geopolitical changes. From the aftermath of 9/11, which led to a tectonic shift in international relations, to the rise of China as a global superpower, the world as we knew it has been transformed. A seemingly unending series of events like the Arab Spring, the Resurgence of Russia, and the Age of Populism have all left indelible marks on the global stage. But why is it crucial for us to understand these changes? Simply put, the past informs the present, and the present shapes the future. Every event, every conflict, every alliance formed or broken plays a role in shaping the geopolitical landscape. It's like a grand game of chess, where each move, no matter how insignificant it may seem at the time, can drastically alter the course of the game. Take, for instance, the intricate web of alliances and rivalries that have sprung up. New alliances have formed, old ones have crumbled, and some have transformed in unexpected ways. These shifting sands of diplomacy and power are not just the result of whims and fancies of leaders. They are a response to the ever-evolving global scenario, marked by economic shifts, technological advancements, and even climate change. Predicting the future of geopolitics, then, is a task fraught with complexities. Yet it's an endeavor we must undertake. For in the dance of nations, understanding the moves that have been made can give us a sense of what the next steps might be. So, let's embark on this journey of exploration and understanding. From the conflicts that have defined our century to the new alliances that are shaping our world. From the Cold Wars of the past to the potential hotspots of the future. To grasp the state of today's geopolitics, we must journey through the 21st century's major events. The new millennium started with a bang, quite literally, with the 9/11 attacks in 2001. A day that reverberates through history, a moment that changed the world forever. In the aftermath of these attacks, the landscape of global politics shifted dramatically. The United States, shell-shocked and indignant, launched what it termed the War on Terror, a multinational campaign against terrorism that quickly escalated into full-scale invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq. These invasions were not simply military operations. They were geopolitical maneuvers aimed at dismantling regimes, rooting out terrorist networks, and establishing democracies. However, the reality was far more complex, and the outcomes far more ambiguous. In Afghanistan, the fall of the Taliban led to a power vacuum, which in turn gave rise to a resurgence of insurgency and militancy. Iraq, on the other hand, became a hotbed of sectarian violence and political instability, with the removal of Saddam Hussein leading to unforeseen consequences. The ripples of these invasions were felt far beyond the borders of Afghanistan and Iraq. They altered the global balance of power and reshaped the world's perception of conflict and security. The War on Terror fueled a new breed of global terrorism, with groups like Al-Qaeda and later on, ISIS, gaining prominence and extending their reach across continents. The aftermath of 9/11 also saw an unprecedented expansion of surveillance and security measures worldwide. The concept of homeland security took root, leading to increased scrutiny at borders, airports, and public spaces. Anti-terrorism laws were enacted, often at the expense of civil liberties, and the narrative of fear became a powerful political tool. In the realm of international relations, alliances were tested, trust was eroded, and new fault lines emerged. The War on Terror became a divisive factor, with countries either aligning with or against the United States, leading to a more polarized world. 9/11 was a turning point, setting the stage for many geopolitical events in the 21st century. It marked the beginning of a new era, one defined by conflict, uncertainty, and change. It was a stark reminder of our interconnected world, where the actions of one nation can echo across the globe. As the dust of 9/11 settled, a new global player was emerging in the East China. With its rapid economic growth, China started to play a significant role in the world stage. The country has seen an incredible transformation since the late 20th century, moving from a largely agrarian society to an industrial powerhouse. This economic boom was fueled by a combination of factors, including an enormous and hard-working population, government policies favoring industrialization, and a strategic focus on technology and innovation. China's economic rise has not been without controversy. The West, particularly the United States, has viewed China's growth with a mix of awe and apprehension. The economic interdependence between the two nations has led to what some analysts call a chimerican relationship, marked by both cooperation and competition. Trade wars, intellectual property disputes, and issues around technology and cybersecurity have strained this relationship, adding to the geopolitical tension. China's ascent to the world stage has also been marked by its increasing military power and its assertive stance in the South China Sea. These developments have fueled concerns about a potential shift in the global balance of power. Furthermore, China's Belt and Road Initiative, a massive infrastructure project spanning multiple continents, is seen by many as an attempt to reshape global trade on its own terms. China's rise has also led to a reassessment of the global order. The influence of Western powers, particularly the United States, is being challenged. The rules-based international order, largely shaped by Western nations after World War II, is under pressure. China is not just a rising economic power, but also an emerging political and cultural force, prompting discussions about the Asian century. China's rise to power has drastically shifted the geopolitical landscape. The country's economic growth, military expansion, and strategic initiatives have placed it at the center of the 21st century geopolitics. As we move forward, understanding China's role in the world will be crucial in navigating the complex and ever-shifting geopolitical terrain. The year 2010 marked the beginning of a wave of protests and revolutions in the Arab world, known as the Arab Spring. This period of upheaval, ignited by a single act of defiance in Tunisia, spread like wildfire across the Middle East and North Africa, toppling long-standing regimes and sparking a fervor for change. The roots of the Arab Spring can be traced to a potent cocktail of socio-economic issues, including high unemployment rates, rampant corruption, and a lack of political freedoms. The younger generation, in particular, found themselves stifled by the status quo, their aspirations and dreams smothered under repressive regimes. The advent of social media played a significant role in amplifying their voices, allowing them to organize, communicate, and bring their struggle to the global stage. The consequences of the Arab Spring have been far-reaching and complex. On one hand, it brought an end to decades of autocratic rule in countries like Tunisia, Egypt, and Libya, igniting a sense of hope and possibility. Yet the power vacuums left in the wake of these toppled regimes also gave rise to instability and conflict, as witnessed in Syria and Yemen. Moreover, the Arab Spring has significantly reshaped the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. New alliances have been formed, old rivalries have been rekindled, and the balance of power has shifted in unpredictable ways. Countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran found themselves in a heightened state of competition, each vying for regional dominance. Meanwhile, the role of external powers, such as the United States and Russia, has also evolved, complicating the dynamics further. The Arab Spring is a powerful testament to the human spirit's longing for freedom, dignity, and justice. Yet it also serves as a stark reminder of the turbulent path that often accompanies profound societal change. As we move further into the 21st century, the echoes of the Arab Spring continue to reverberate, influencing the course of history in the Middle East and beyond. The Arab Spring has brought unprecedented changes to the Middle East and its geopolitical dynamics. While the Middle East was in turmoil, Russia was quietly reasserting its global presence. A key moment that highlighted this resurgence was the annexation of Crimea in 2014. This move, while controversial, marked a significant shift in Russia's foreign policy. It was a bold assertion of power, a signal to the world that Russia was willing to defy international norms to protect its interests. This move was not without backlash, with many Western nations imposing sanctions in response. Yet despite these punitive measures, Russia stood its ground, solidifying its hold on Crimea. Simultaneously, Russia was also making its presence felt in the Middle East, particularly in Syria. Its strategic involvement in the Syrian civil war demonstrated its ability to influence events far beyond its borders. By supporting the Assad regime, Russia not only bolstered its own strategic interests, but also positioned itself as a key player in the region. In doing so, it reshaped the geopolitical landscape, challenging the post-Cold War order and the influence of Western powers. This resurgence, however, has not been without tension. Russia's actions have led to a new Cold War of sorts with the West. The lines have been drawn not by physical walls or iron curtains, but by cyber warfare, disinformation campaigns, and strategic alliances. This new Cold War is a battle of influence and power, being fought on a global stage, with both sides vying for supremacy. Yet, this is not the Cold War of the 20th century. It's a new game, with new rules. It's being fought in the realms of technology, economics, and information. And in this game, Russia is proving to be a formidable player. Russia's resurgence has added another layer of complexity to global geopolitics. Its actions have reminded us that the world stage is not a unipolar one. It has carved out its own sphere of influence, challenging the status quo and forcing us all to reconsider the dynamics of global power. The mid-2010s saw the rise of populism, from Brexit to the election of Donald Trump. This wave of populism, driven by a surge of nationalism and anti-establishment sentiment, has had profound implications for the world order we thought we knew. Populism, at its core, is a political approach that champions the common person, often in opposition to the established elite or mainstream political institutions. It's a movement that's not confined to any one country or region, but has swept across the world, from Europe to the Americas and beyond. In the United Kingdom, populism manifested in the form of Brexit, a decision that saw the British people voting to leave the European Union. This move was largely driven by anti-EU sentiments and concerns over national sovereignty, a clear example of how populism can reshape international alliances and relationships. Across the Atlantic, the United States saw the election of Donald Trump, a political outsider whose campaign was grounded in populist rhetoric. His administration's policies, from immigration to trade, have echoed this populist sentiment, challenging the norms of the global system and reshaping the United States' role on the world stage. But what does this rise in populism mean for the world order? The liberal world order, characterized by open markets, democratic values, and international cooperation, is being challenged. Populist leaders, with their us versus them rhetoric, are creating divisions, disrupting alliances, and questioning the tenets of globalization. This shift has created uncertainty. Countries are grappling with the question of how to navigate this new world order, one where the rules seem to be ever-changing. It's a world where the balance of power is in flux, where alliances are less predictable, and where the lines between domestic politics and international relations are increasingly blurred. Indeed, the rise of populism has shaken the foundations of the geopolitical status quo. As we move forward, the world will need to grapple with and adapt to this new reality, a reality defined by the voice of the people, for better or for worse. As we moved into the 2020s, a new geopolitical player emerged: climate change. This invisible yet formidable force is reshaping the geopolitics of the 21st century, influencing the dynamics of power, alliances, and conflicts. Climate change is more than just a scientific or environmental issue. It is a catalyst for social, economic, and political upheaval. It is a threat multiplier, exacerbating existing tensions and creating new ones. In regions already plagued by instability, the added stress of climate change can fuel conflict, migration, and social unrest. Take, for example, the Arctic. The melting ice cap is opening up new sea routes and untapped natural resources, leading to a scramble among nations for control. It's not just about the environment, it's about power, influence, and strategic advantage. Similarly, in Africa, the Sahel region is experiencing increased desertification and erratic rainfall patterns, affecting millions of lives and livelihoods. This environmental crisis is becoming a breeding ground for conflict and extremism, further destabilizing an already fragile region. Climate change also has the potential to reshape alliances. Countries that are able to harness renewable energy sources effectively will gain an edge in this new world order. It's a race not just for survival, but for supremacy. Those who lead in the green energy revolution will not only secure a sustainable future for their citizens, but also a strategic advantage on the world stage. The consequences of climate change also mean that cooperation among nations is more crucial than ever. It's a global problem that requires a global solution. It's a test of our collective will and capacity to transcend borders and differences for the sake of our shared future. Indeed, climate change is not just changing the world's physical landscapes, but also its political ones. It's a different kind of Cold War, where the battle is not over ideology, but survival. It's about who can adapt, innovate, and lead in a world that's hotter, scarcer, and more volatile. Climate change is set to be a defining geopolitical issue of the 21st century. As we look forward, what does the future hold for geopolitics? In this ever-changing world, the future of geopolitics is like trying to predict the weather. We can make educated guesses based on current patterns, but there will always be surprises. One trend we can anticipate is the continued rise of multipolarity. The 21st century has seen the emergence of new global powers and the re-emergence of old ones. This shift away from a single superpower dominating geopolitics is expected to continue into the future. As nations like China and India continue to grow, they will undoubtedly play a larger role on the global stage. Another significant trend is the increasing influence of non-state actors. From multinational corporations to international non-governmental organizations, these bodies are playing an ever larger role in global affairs. They're not bound by the same constraints as states, and their influence will likely continue to grow. But it's not all about power dynamics. The challenges we face in the future will also shape geopolitics. Climate change, for instance, is set to become a major geopolitical issue. As resources become scarcer and the effects of climate change more pronounced, conflicts over resources and territory are likely to increase. Similarly, the technological revolution will also have a major impact. As we've seen with the rise of cyber warfare, technology can drastically alter the geopolitical landscape. The spread of artificial intelligence, automation, and other advanced technologies could lead to new forms of conflict and cooperation. Finally, the future of geopolitics will be shaped by the decisions we make today. The policies implemented, the alliances formed, the conflicts resolved or not resolved will all play a part in shaping the geopolitical landscape of tomorrow. The future of geopolitics remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: it will continue to be a fascinating and complex field. Whether we're dealing with the rise of new powers, the challenges of climate change, or the impact of technological advancement, the world of geopolitics is sure to keep us on our toes. So what have we learned about the geopolitics of the 21st century? We have witnessed the profound and often tumultuous shifts in the global political landscape. The aftermath of the September 11th attacks not only reshaped the United States, but also sent reverberations across the world, changing the course of geopolitics. Then, we saw the rise of China, a nation that emerged from the shadows of the past to become a global powerhouse, challenging the established order and creating new alliances. The geopolitical weight of China in the 21st century is undeniable, and its impact will continue to be felt in the years to come. The Arab Spring, a series of anti-government protests, uprisings and armed rebellions that spread across much of the Arab world in the early 2010s, highlighted the power of the collective voice and the demand for change. It painted a vivid picture of how conflict and revolution can reshape regions and influence global politics. We also explored the resurgence of Russia, a country that has reasserted its influence on the global stage, demonstrating the enduring importance of traditional state power in geopolitical equations. In the age of populism, we've seen the rise of leaders who appeal directly to the public, bypassing traditional political structures. This shift has introduced a new dynamic to geopolitics, with populist movements influencing policies and international relations. Climate change, an issue once confined to the margins of political discourse, has now moved to the center of geopolitics. The fight against global warming has become a key factor in international relations, shaping alliances and conflicts. Looking towards the future, we can see that the geopolitical landscape is set to evolve further. New technologies, demographic shifts, and the ongoing struggle with climate change will continue to shape and redefine geopolitics. As we navigate the 21st century, understanding geopolitics is more important than ever. The world is interconnected, and the ripples of political change in one region can create waves globally. Knowledge of geopolitics equips us to better comprehend these shifts and their implications, helping us to engage more effectively in the world around us. As we navigate the 21st century, understanding geopolitics is more important than ever.